Hello, my name is Ryan, and I will be discussing the first two questions in relation to Vincent van Gogh's painting The Sower. For my first question, which is what types of life do you think Van Gogh depicts in this painting, and why do you think this life is significant? In this painting, Vincent van Gogh seems to be displaying a life of solitary. The sower seems to spend his days alone in the fields planting seedlings. The solitary life of the sower could be indicative of how Van Gogh felt in his own life during this time period of his life when he made this painting. The sower seems to be a workaholic as he is in the fields until late at night, which could potentially be synonymous with Van Gogh and his painting at this time period in his life. During this time period, Van Gogh really had no one. He was kind of alone, so he was experiencing a sort of life of solitary, which is why I feel that this painting could potentially be a visual representation of his life at that time period. And then for my second question, which is, does the image depict or imply any brokenheartedness? If so, what do you think it references and why? So for this question, I kind of thought about it from the aspect of like Van Gogh is painting this as like he's the observer kind of outside of his own body looking at his own life at this point in time. This painting definitely does seem to depict elements of brokenheartedness as the sower is depicted alone. And it seems as though the only thing he has in his life is kind of nurturing the seedlings and taking care of the fields. Van Gogh made this painting in 1888, which was just prior to his admittance to the hospital and was a peak time of his depression. So just kind of going back to what I said previously, I do believe that this painting is a visual representation of the loneliness that Van Gogh felt during this time period of his life and just kind of the depression and the brokenheartedness he was suffering of having to spend his time alone and not really having anyone to kind of turn to or rely on in his life. And so, yeah.
Hello, my name's John. I'm going to be, my group is going to be talking about the painting The Sower, painted in 1888 by Vincent van Gogh. So for my first question, what specific elements of the painting stand out to me and why? So the first thing I think stood out to me was the sun is very prominent and big in the background and stands out. Also, and he uses a lot of yellow in the sun. Another thing that stands out is the sower and the tree. They're both very dark and they take up a large portion of the painting. Overall, the painting does infer heartbrokenness in the form of Van Gogh's loneliness and lack of identity. The sower and the tree, as I mentioned earlier, are very dark and prominent and black, and they imply that loneliness and the lack of identity. Van Gogh could be scared of these paintings never being recognized by the world. Hence, the sower has no face, capturing that lack of identity. In terms of how does this painting connect to any other of the other ones we talked in class, we all thought that it was similar to Starry Night, because in Starry Night, the cypress tree takes up a big portion of the painting, and it's just in your face. Similar to the sower, where the sower and the tree in the painting take up a large part and are painted both dark. And I think that they both show turmoil in Vincent van Gogh's life and depression because they're big and they're prominent. And also, it's also similar to the wheat field with crows because the brushstrokes are smaller and more precise and more feverish. So yeah.
Hello, my name is Zach. I'm going to be covering questions 5 and the conclusion in this project over The Sower by Vincent van Gogh in 1888. We have another group member named Ryan, who's currently not with us at the moment, but he will later send his portions for questions 1 and 2 for the topic. So to start off, I'm going to be talking about question 5, which is, does this painting imply any solutions help for brokenheartedness and or depression or how to respond. I think the painting does imply solutions to help with depression and or brokenheartedness by showing that even though the sower looks to be sad and lonely, he decides to continue to bring forth new life through his way of his work. He also seems to care for this life when he seems to be holding a seed in his hand, being gentle with it, just like if it was a child of his. And I think this represents that even though if you're going through something, as long as you put forth into your work to do something good, as in like plant to bring new life, that it can be helpful for your depression. And now I'm going to go over the conclusion over this. So in conclusion, we think that this painting depicts brokenheartedness through loneliness and solitude, just how Vincent most likely felt at this time period, right before he went to the hospital. It also shows that he's a hard worker who stays up late into the day completing his work, just like when Vincent would stay up each day painting every day. The sower in this painting is also talked about how the sower is a very prominent feature, and yet he has little to no detail while also being dark and gloomy. The details of the face could show that Vincent is also struggling with his identity at the time and questioning whether his works are worth it, and the darkness can show that it's gloomy. And then the final part, which I had just spoken about, is that I do think there's a remedy for it. That as long as you find something that you really care for and love for, and you do it as long as it's good for your mental health, that it could help bring about a new era for your life into health. And thank you.